I love going to the movies. I love that it forces me to focus. I love an excuse to get dressed up. I love the popcorn. I just love it. These days, I consume most of my media on my laptop at faster speeds. I rarely let my brain slow down and take things in at the speed they were meant to be taken in. So I thought it would be a fun idea to challenge myself to go see every movie that's playing at the cinema for an entire month. I'll probably miss some that are playing near you, or see some that aren't playing near you, but it would be impossible to know what is playing at every cinema in the entire world, so this is just what's playing at the ones closest to me. I'm going to preface this with a gigantic spoiler warning, as I will spoil all of these movies, so skip ahead if one comes up that you don't want spoiled. This is my first attempt, which unfortunately I failed, but I'm still trying and wanted to include the ones from my failed attempt. When starting, there were movies still playing that I had already seen, so I'll recap what I remember of those first, starting with Trolls Band Together, that I saw back in November. I barely remember this. I gave it a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd and said the rating was only so high for NSYNC. What I remember of it was that Anna Kendrick's character really wanted a sister so bad, and then she met her long-lost sister who kidnaps her and is racist against her best friend because someone of their kind had attacked the trolls in the past. I remember thinking the movie was so dumb, but then they had NSYNC come and voice some of the trolls to sing together, and my heart melted into the 90s. I'm glad I saw this one for nostalgia purposes, but it wasn't great. Next was Ferarri with Adam Driver. I went into this one thinking I'd hate it because it's about cars, but I actually hated it because it's about cars and cheating. Can we get some movies made about successful men who were monogamous, please? That would be really nice to see for a change. I'm not even sure what the main point of this was. It ends with a car flying off a track during a race and killing a whole chunk in the crowd, which was brutal and out of nowhere. Even though I saw this at the cinema, I still struggled holding my focus and could have lived without seeing this one. I guess they can't all be winners. Whoever did Adam Driver's hair deserves an award, though. The placement of the different shades of gray looked so natural. Then it was time to go in and see new movies. I saw The Boy on the Heron, or what I like to call The Boy and the Man in the Heron. This is the newest Miyazaki film, and I'm not going to try to explain it because I've only seen it once, and I feel like I'll butcher it because so much happens in his movies. It has his weird, trippy, beautiful, artsy style, and I'm glad I got to see it at the cinema. A heads up for animal lovers, there are some bad scenes with animals. Next up was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I had a few chapters left in this book, but I wanted to catch it before it left the cinema, so I went anyway, and oh my gosh. I love this movie. I wasn't loving the book, and since then I have finished the book, and I really did not enjoy it too much. But I love this movie, and now I want to reread the book with new eyes and see if I like it more. This is a prequel to The Hunger Games, giving us the backstory to a young President Snow back when he was just Coriolanus. While reading the book, I kept getting stuck on his name and eventually just read it as Cornelius, but then once I saw it, I realized Coriolanus isn't really that hard to say. Anyway, this takes place during the 10th Hunger Games, the first year they introduced the idea of mentors for the tributes, and they had capital students be the mentors, which is what Coriolanus is. He mentors Lucy Gray in the games, it travels through the games, and the aftermath caused by him helping her. I read the reviews after watching this, and I'm so confused. Everyone refers to Snow as the villain of the movie, but I think Lucy is. In the book, it's definitely Coriolanus and a little bit of Lucy as well being villains, but in the movie, he was instructed to go into battlefield to pull his friend out, and while in there, he killed a guy who was trying to kill them. That's self-defense and protection to Lucy, so I don't really see that as bad. And the guy was literally sentenced to death anyway. He was just making it happen faster. Then the mayor's daughter, who, keep in mind, had Lucy sentenced to death as well by making her daddy send Lucy into the games, threatens everyone into having them all hung, which she has proved she's capable of doing, so Snow kills her. Again, self-defense. Then he tries to stop his friend from committing a kind of treason, and when the friend won't listen, he sends a mockingjay to someone higher up who could stop him, only the guy ends up getting hung instead. Now, even though the friend was trying to do something nice, it's still treason, and he told Coriolanus, making him an accessory, and also sentencing him to death, basically. So I also feel like that was kind of self-defense in a way. And he didn't even mean to have him killed, and he didn't do the killing. That was just an accident, and he tried to help him. Lucy, on the other hand, seems to have been manipulating him in order to get him to help her in the games. People argue that point, saying she really did love him based on how she looked at him when he came to her in District 12, but I feel like she was still just fucking with him, or maybe just thought, why not try for real now? But when she realizes he accidentally got his friend killed, she tries to kill him with his dead mother's scarf, which is so cold on so many levels, so he shoots her, and again, in self-defense, she's actively trying to kill him. How is that making him the bad guy? In the book, it's definitely portrayed a lot different, and you know his thoughts, and you know he's an ass and a bad person, but in the movie, it doesn't translate like that. He seems genuinely nice and to care for people, and a lot of the nice things that his friend Sejanus had done in the book, in the movie, they had Coriolanus do it, making him even more the good guy. In the later movies, yes, absolutely, bad man. Here, though, he loved her. He risked his whole life for her, even sacrificed his life to be with her, and she still tries to kill him. And her reasoning being that he accidentally killed someone when she did too. I just don't understand. Also, he was throwing away his original future because he thought that he couldn't have it anymore with the gun he used to kill the mayor's daughter being out there. But then he finds them in the cabin that only her and her friends know about, so she probably knew the whole time and let him fuck everything up anyway. She's clearly the bad guy. I love this movie though. It could have been a whole 6 hours and I would have asked for more. I love it and I'm so glad I went to see it on the big screen. And I did see it a couple more times after this. A less amazing movie came next called Night Swim. I kind of like the concept. A family moves into a house that has a haunted pool that requires a sacrifice. Once shit starts going down, the mom goes to see a former tenant whose daughter died in the pool. She explains that she needed to sacrifice her daughter to grant her with the gift of getting her son's life back. Damn, clearly playing favorites with your children. Side note too, that little girl dying was the opening scene, and she acted really well in that. I feel horrible when children do well in horror movies. I hope she got a nice toy shopping spree after this. Back to the movie. The mom of that little girl is possessed by the water, but later in the movie, the dad sees the water try to possess his son, and he sacrifices himself to save him. But doesn't that not save him? The mom was still fucked, so isn't the son still fucked, only now he doesn't have a dad anymore? I just don't get it. Is that a plot hole? Am I missing something? I'm not sure. It's not great, but I wasn't tortured by it either. Next up is The Iron Claw, a movie based on the Von Erich pro wrestling family. Their family is so fucked up that it was just not a fun watch. Plus, it's hard for me to look at people that meaty for so long. An evil dictator dad, if you can even call him that, forces his sons into wrestling even as they keep dying off. And he doesn't allow the others to cry about their fallen brothers. No one in this family is allowed creativity or emotion. I swear that man has no soul. The last living son has boys of his own who teach him that it's okay to cry, and they almost made me cry when the little boys tell him that he can cry, and that they'll be his brothers. Someone on Letterboxd called this movie the feel-bad movie of the year, and I completely agree. The Book of Clarence was next. Going into this one, I only knew the title, and the cinema app had Benedict Cumberbatch listed as the first on the actors list, so in my mind, I was thinking it was going to be a fantasy story about a man named Clarence who lives in a book. But nope, it's a Bible story. I can't tell if it's satirical or serious. I can't even tell if it's pro or anti-religion. Most of the movie, they seem to be making fun of religion and swear a lot, but towards the end, it seems very pro-religion. There was a woman in the cinema yelling at the screen about "Praise the Lord, our one and only, yes, Jesus." And she seemed to think it was pro, while I thought it was anti. It was a weird movie. I would have rathered the Benedict Cumberbatch in a fantasy book movie. By the way, he only has about 3 minutes of screen time, if that. I wonder if he really wanted to do this for some reason and asked to, because I can't see why anyone working on this would actually think they could or should get him for this role. I'm so curious how much he was paid. After that, I saw Freud's Last Session. C.S. Lewis and Sigmund Freud have a conversation and they flash back a lot as they're speaking. There's a side storyline of Freud's daughter being a lesbian, which Sigmund thinks about a little too much. The conversation kind of ends up being about religion, which is annoying. I also don't like how much Sigmund said all pleasures are sexual. I'm asexual, so that's the complete opposite of my experience in life. And he says it as if it's a fact, and also says lesbianism comes from a woman's relationship with her father. I came out of this not really liking these two guys, but rooting for the daughter. Godzilla Minus One blew my mind next. I never thought I'd cry at a Godzilla movie. This is so heartbreaking and beautiful. I love it so much. A man lets a whole group of men get killed by Godzilla in the war, and then Godzilla passes by and kills his family and hometown. When he returns, a woman barges her way into his home for help along with the baby that she found and is trying to take care of. He keeps her at arm's length for years because he's still fighting a war inside himself, and he doesn't fully appreciate her until he loses her to Godzilla. It's such a beautiful story, and I love it so much. There's so much more, but on the off chance that you haven't seen it yet, I don't want to spoil too much. Highly, highly, highly recommend. After seeing the beauty that is Godzilla Minus One, I hopped on over to a terrible palette cleanser of Founders Day. It felt like I was an Etch-a-Sketch that had a masterpiece drawn into me just to be immediately shaken clear afterwards. I'm gonna spoil this one to the bone, so just skip ahead if you want to avoid that. A bunch of people in town keep getting killed off. Eventually, you find out it was sort of due to a lesbian who was mad her girlfriend didn't say I love you back, but also the lesbian who did say I love you's brother's girlfriend cheated on him, and also because Mr. Matthews, cosplaying as Mr. Feeney, wanted to become mayor. I don't entirely understand the ending because Mr. Matthews, I forget his name in this, he helps the killer lesbian who is terrorizing her girlfriend, but he helps kill the evil one, and he and the living one end up all hunky-dory, but excuse me, miss, he was still helping kill people? I'm confused. And also, the killer lesbian must have had this plan before the not saying I love you back part, because that happened right after the plan was in motion. I'm confused. It was bad, but it was kind of funny too, so I'm not terribly upset I saw it, but I wouldn't care to watch it again. Really, I should have concluded this attempt a lot sooner, but then you'd have this broken up into 3 failed attempts, so my optimism has saved this from becoming too many different videos. First, I missed The Color Purple, which I still haven't watched yet. I just couldn't bring myself to sit through a nearly 3-hour musical when, on most days, I was seeing multiple movies. I just couldn't do it. I had one night by the only location I could find that was playing the new Tom Felton movie, Some Other Woman, which I still haven't seen yet. I wasn't feeling well that day. I almost went to the hospital even, so I definitely missed that one. Sorry, Tom. I'll see it eventually. Unfortunately, that only played for 6 days, and I only had that one day in town, possibly the worst day. Then I had gone to see a handful and was so burnt out that I couldn't go another day, and I missed the last day that was playing the sole theatrical release and a movie called The End We Start From. Hopefully my second attempt succeeds, but this was still fun. Thanks for watching. Bye!